The concrete slab was seconds away from crushing her when Daniel dropped his phone, forgot about his future, and chose a stranger's life over his own dreams. Dust filled the air, sirens screamed somewhere in the distance, and in that single, irreversible moment, a single father made a decision that would cost him the biggest interview of his life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and doing the right thing even when it hurts, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Brightly Kindness. Because stories like this remind us that humanity still exists. Daniel Carter had not slept properly in weeks. As a 34-year-old single dad raising his 7-year-old daughter Lily, every day felt like a test he couldn't afford to fail. Ever since Lily's mother passed away 3 years earlier, Daniel had been juggling construction shifts, school lunches, late-night homework help, and the constant ache of trying to be both parents at once. He carried guilt for not being home enough and fear that he was never doing enough. That morning, however, felt different. He had finally secured an interview for a site supervisor position at one of the biggest development firms in the city. It meant steady hours, better pay, health insurance, security, the kind of stability that could change Lily's childhood forever. He wore his only crisp button-down shirt under his worn jacket, rehearsing answers in his head as he drove across town. He imagined Lily's smile when he'd tell her they could move to a safer neighborhood, maybe even get her the pink bicycle she'd been pointing at for months. He pictured less overtime, more bedtime stories, fewer nights where exhaustion replaced patience. For Daniel, this interview wasn't ambition. It was survival wrapped in hope. But life doesn't always knock before it changes direction. Halfway to the corporate office, traffic stalled near a partially demolished building. A sudden structural collapse had turned the sidewalk into chaos. People were shouting, recording on their phones, backing away from the debris. Daniel checked the time, 40 minutes until his interview. He could still make it if the road cleared. Then he heard a cry. It wasn't loud, but it was desperate. Beneath a tilted slab of concrete and twisted metal, a woman was pinned, her leg trapped, dust coating her face. She was conscious but fadding, her breath shallow, eyes scanning for help that wasn't coming fast enough. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the clock again. This was the interview he had prayed for, the one opportunity he couldn't afford to miss. Sirens were still far away. The crowd kept its distance. For a split second, he imagined driving around the block, convincing himself someone else would help. But then he saw Lily's face in his mind, not her smile, but her eyes. The eyes that watched everything he did. The eyes learning what kind of man her father was. He parked the car. Running toward the wreckage, Daniel's body moved before doubt could stop him. He assessed the structure the way years of construction had trained him to. The slab wasn't fully stable. One wrong move could make it collapse entirely. He spoke calmly to the woman, telling her to stay awake, to focus on his voice. Her hand trembled in his as he braced himself against the debris, using all his strength to lift just enough weight to slide a metal beam aside. Pain shot through his shoulders, but adrenaline drowned it out. Minutes felt like hours. Dust burned his lungs. The woman cried out as he shifted the pressure from her leg. He ignored the shouts from bystanders warning him it was dangerous. Danger didn't matter anymore. Only time did. With one final surge of strength, Daniel managed to create enough space for two other men, finally inspired to help to pull her free. As emergency responders arrived, Daniel collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, shirt torn, hands bleeding. Only then did he look at his phone. 12 missed calls from the interview office. The time had passed. At the hospital, a paramedic thanked him, saying the woman might not have survived much longer. Daniel nodded numbly. The reality settled in slowly. He had missed it, the opportunity, the stability, the chance to make things easier for Lily. On the drive home, his mind was a battlefield of regret and quiet pride. He didn't know which emotion would win. That evening, he told Lily the truth. He expected disappointment, maybe confusion. Instead, she wrapped her small arms around his neck and said she was proud of him. Proud. The word hit harder than any rejection email could. Still, after she fell asleep, Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at unpaid bills. Being proud didn't pay rent. The next morning, his phone rang from an unknown number. He almost ignored it. Exhaustion made him wary of false hope, but something told him to answer. The voice on the other end was steady, warm, unmistakably the woman from the wreckage. Her name was Amelia Grant. She thanked him again, her words filled with emotion he hadn't expected. Then she said something that made him sit upright. Amelia wasn't just anyone. She was the co-founder and CEO of the very development firm Daniel had been scheduled to interview with. She had been visiting one of their project sites when the collapse occurred. She explained that she had reviewed security footage and witness statements. She knew he had an interview that morning. She knew he had chosen to stay. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He tried to explain that anyone would have done the same, but Amelia gently disagreed. Not everyone had. She told him she had built her company on principles of integrity.